your MLS, because this is where you access your transaction desk account through your MLS. We have what's referred to as one-click integrations with your MLS. So I'm going to go here, middle third of the screen, right-hand side. We're going to start with the essential, so what we refer to as the one-click sign-in. Here from the Smart Links forms online with a little TD skittle there. One-click sign-in. When you click here, you're going to be automatically logged into your transaction desk account. No requirements for additional usernames and passwords. You've already provided those to get into the Lansing MLS. So when you click on Forms Online, you're automatically logged into your transaction desk account. Each time you log in, the first time to set up your account, and then each additional time, MLS will forward us your information, your name, your office affiliation, your contact information, phone numbers, email address, and websites. So anytime you want to make a change to your personal data in Transaction Desk, update it at the MLS, and it will be automatically refreshed into your Transaction Desk. One-click sign-in. And we're going to look at that here, or activate that in just another 45 seconds, because we have another integration called a one-click transaction file. So I'm going to click here. I'm still in the middle third, but now I'm on the left-hand side of the screen, New Listings. Just to go there, just to quickly pull up an MLS ID so we can show this one-click transaction file integration, which, when utilized, will do just that. It will automatically start a brand new residential sale transaction file. It will populate that new transaction file with the MLS details. So the first place you can find it is under this little information bubble. When I hover my mouse on that I information, along with the other icons here available, you're going to see one for Transaction Desk, that TD symbol, Transaction Desk. And you can see as I hover my mouse there, start a transaction. It will start a brand new transaction file, residential sale, for this property, in this case 713 West Oliver. I'm actually going to take down that MLS ID for future use here. 42393. One-click transaction. Last place to see that again. I'm going to click on the MLS ID to show those MLS details. So as we get into the details page, from the left-hand column, we're also going to see that same opportunity to start a transaction. One-click transaction file. You're automatically logged into your account. A new residential sale transaction file is started and is populated with this MLS details. Address, city, state, zip, list price, MLS ID, all of that information contained here within the MLS will be populated into that new residential sale transaction. One-click transaction. Is it essential? No, but it sure is fun. So when you get the opportunities, go use those technologies. What we're going to do is highlight this one-click sign-in from the Smart Links Essentials to be able to know how to log in. So I'm going to click here, Forms Online, click, and the first time that you log in, you're going to go through what we refer to as the pre-flight system check. You're going to go through the pre-flight to make sure that your browser settings are going to give you the best experience on the Transaction Desk platform. Again, this just happens the first time. When you click the one-click sign-in for the first time, you're going to go through these steps. There are ways to rerun this pre-flight, but just to give you a sense, one of the most important things that you can do is allow pop-ups from Transaction Desk. My computer allows it. I get a green check down here in the lower left corner, lower third left corner by pop-up blocker. I get a green check, and I see the pop-up. I can almost guarantee that the first time you go to log in, that pop-up message is going to be blocked. Please always allow pop-ups from Transaction Desk for system messages, for save prompts, for calendar icons, and all these additional features within the Transaction Desk platform. So please do allow pop-ups. All these other features here of cookies and JavaScript and Adobe and browser, see where I all have green checks there. You will most likely get a lot of green checks as well. In the event that you get a red X, it will also be provided with instructions on how to take a corrective action. So if you have an older, outdated version or don't have Adobe, you'll get a red X with a link to how to download or how to update that Adobe Reader or that JavaScript. One thought about browser and operating system. Speaking to the Mac users out there, Mac users, please use Safari browser. On all Mac devices, please use Safari browser. Mac desktops, laptops, iPads 1, 2s, and 3s, please use Safari browser. So what does that mean? It means don't use Firefox. Please use Safari. For PC users, the other 85% of you, PC users, you have the choice of Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Chrome. So choose the browser that is most compatible. We've been developing for Internet Explorer the longest, so it may give you the most stable experience on the transaction desk platform. So Preflight, to make sure that your computer has these basic settings to get the best experience. Pardon my mouse for a moment, but otherwise, top third of the screen, right-hand corner, clicking here to continue. First time that you log in, you'll be asked to accept the terms of service, set your time zone and language preferences, familiarize yourself with the terms, but essentially, as long as you are willing to not resell our product, you'll be fine. So accept that terms, lower third of the screen, right-hand corner, action arrow to continue in to the transaction desk platform. Transaction desk is the platform. Forms, Authenticsign, DocBox are the services available to you through your Lansing member benefit. So the first thing, just kind of, I call it the safety blanket, I guess. We're going to look at the Forms library view. Middle third of the screen, left-hand side, clicking on Forms, that library view of forms. To print out a form or to type up an online form, one form at a time. And if this is the limitation, it is that you're working with one form at a time. It is a blank form. But can you work in that manner? Sure you can. All the forms here, we're looking at 1 through 10 of 44 different forms online. They are in alphabetical order. That's how the library view sorts the forms, in alphabetical order. You can print these forms, any of the forms. Follow me to the right-hand side of the screen. There's a print blank icon. I'm at the top, form acknowledgement of change of designated agent. I'm just going to click on that print blank icon. It's going to convert my online incident form into an Adobe Acrobat PDF so that I can print this PDF to paper if I want to move forward with getting it, filling it out by hand and getting a wet signature. Simply right-click on the form. I always just say click on the right-click on the name of the form because it's the top header feature there, and then you can print that blank form. So all you're doing is printing it to paper. But it's a safety blanket. If you find yourself in that situation where you need that immediate access, go ahead and print it out, meet with your client, get wet signatures, ink signatures on paper pages. There's always opportunities to scan this back, upload it to your file, to your online account, use faxing services to turn that paper back into a digital document. Otherwise, that's just printing. Just again, that safety blanket when you're in that situation where you need to have an instant copy. The other option here is to type up the form first. Type it up and then print it or fax it or Authenticsign it. So I'm just going to continue to use, let's use a different one. Let's go to the buyer fee agreement. Well, you choose that form. So if you want to type up the form, I would suggest that you click on the form name. This is an active link, bottom third of the screen, left-hand side, clicking on brokerage fee agreement. I click on that link, and it's going to show me that Adobe is ready to install. It's going to show me the details of this form, the brokerage fee agreement. I have no saved copies of this form. I've never typed one up before. So the only thing that I can do right now is create a new version. And I usually choose up here because this is a very consistent phrase, one that I want to familiarize you with. I would like to. The I would like to phrase. In this case, I would like to create a new form. That's the only thing I can do right now. But I'm going to show you that phrase and that drop-down menu that's going to be available once we do create this online form. Action arrow to go to Forms Editor. Forms Editor is where the keyboard meets the contract. Forms Editor, so I can type up the online form. It is a blank form. I'm starting it from scratch. I'm typing it up as an individual blank form that I'm going to go through and fill out. Keyboard meeting the contract. Address, buyer, date, all these are fillable fields. All those blue fields are fillable. So the property address, maybe we'll just do, and one of my favorites here, Testing Terrace, and so forth. Use the tab key if you like to tab through. Just going to pick a date here. Tab to the next field. Maybe I'll throw my birthday at you there. tab to the next field. Do you have to use the tab key? No, you can certainly use the mouse, but otherwise type to add form details. Go through, complete the online form. Once you start typing up your form or completing that typed up form, follow me to the top left corner, top third of the screen, left hand corner, go into the File drop down. I can absolutely save the changes I've made to this online form. I can export this form as a PDF to my hard drive, to my desktop computer. I can print it to paper. So I have these delivery methods, if you will, paper delivery, a PDF copy. I can also send via email, fax, or send to Authentisign, which we'll see a little bit later in this demonstration. We'll see how this form is available through our Authentisign service. But you're typing up the form first, and then completing the delivery. And this is Forms Editor. And this is, we'll look at it again in a transaction file setting, but it'll be exactly the same, and we'll look at it again there. So otherwise, I'm just going to exit from Form Editor. Middle third, upper third of the screen, center, exit from Form Editor. Save prompt. Please allow pop-ups from Transaction Desk. That is a pop-up message. Yes, I absolutely want to save my changes. Now I have a version. Now I've typed up this form. I can rename it. If you follow me to the middle third right-hand side, I can download a copy as a PDF. I can rename it if I want to add in a client's name or other unique identifier. But I can also do a bunch of things now within the I would like to menu. I can delete the one I just created. I can email, fax it. I can even start a new transaction file based on this particular form version. I would like to is an essential phrase within the platform. Familiarize and locate those phrases in drop-down menus. But right now, that's all I want to do with this form. We'll come back and we're going to show how you can Authentisign it here a little bit later in the program. But clicking on Return, middle third of the screen, right-hand side, just above the form name, clicking on Return to go back to return to the library view. And notice now how some of these folders now look different. Contains forms, as opposed to some of these other ones that say empty. When I get down to that brokerage fee, I also see that this one contains. It means that I've typed up a version. It means I have a saved copy of that online form. So I can re-access it. I can create new copies. I can revise the one that I have and so forth. But that's where I find that form. I click on the form name to show me all the details of that form. Library view, one form at a time. If there's another form I had to work on now, I'd go find that form. I could search for it by name. Middle third, kind of upper third there. Search by the form name or unique identifier. I can search in the different folders. But otherwise, one form at a time, starting blank. That's why we show it, but we don't really emphasize it. So now I'm going to go back to Home. Going back to the Home link, upper third, left-hand corner, clicking on Home. Back to that Home view, the big blue icons, Forms, Documents, Transactions. Transactions are the key. Why a transaction? A transaction is going to allow you to replace that manila folder filled with paper pages with an online transaction file filled with digital forms and documents. So real quickly, let's look at a transaction file. We'll look at Jerry's. Jerry Tisdale created this transaction file. It's an active link. All I do is re-click on the link to see the details of that file. The details being, well, the first tab is actually called Details. Upper third of the screen, big black font, Transactions / Details page. That tab, that Details tab, is charcoal highlighted, I guess. We imported from the MLS to bring in this content. Details of our property, of any listing or purchase, comments or transaction dates. So these are the details. These details will auto-populate into our form fields. So that's the value of creating a transaction file, adding details that will auto-fill into the forms. I'm going to move left to right here. Contacts is the next tab. Another feature that will auto-fill into our forms. Buyers and sellers, agents and brokers, anybody whose names are also required on contracts, if I add them as a contact, they will auto-fill my forms and contracts. But notice, each field we're on here, I would like to menu. There's not always a ton of choices, but there's always the most important. I would like to is an essential phrase of the transaction desk platform. Next tab is forms. Just quickly going through showing a file. We're going to create a new one here and make that happen in a moment. A complete set of forms, not one at a time, and not blank, because as I go to that I would like to phrase again, I know that I can auto-populate my forms. This action, auto-populating the forms, is going to populate my form fields with dates, details, and contact information. Pop-up message. It's okay with me. So that all those details, I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to select any of the forms. It just automatically maps all of our details into these form fields. Every form, all 10 forms that have been added to this file have been successfully updated with those transaction details. Auto-filling a complete set of forms. Forms are online and fillable, and we'll see that as we click on the form name, we'll go to Forms Editor. We'll come back and do that when we set up our file. Because we want to talk about documents now. Not only forms, forms are online and fillable, found in the Forms library. Forms are online and fillable and found in the Forms library. Documents are everything else. Documents are the signed, ratified contracts. Documents are the surveys and home inspections and title commitments and loan payoff amounts and pre-qualification letters and the invoicing for the lawn and landscaping. All of those are documents that can be reloaded back into your online transaction file. Authentic final documents are automatically routed back to this part of our file. But we can also scan and upload. So as you scan a document to your computer, your desktop computer, you can then upload that document to the cloud, to your transaction folder to save that document online. You can use the fax back cover sheet to fax paper pages back into your online transaction file. So 3, 4, we even have a DocBox print driver that will allow you to virtually print your documents back to your online files. So at least 4 different ways to move a locally stored document to the cloud into your transaction folder. The last tab there is history. You'll never get this out of a manila folder. The history, all of the activity, time and date stamped when that activity took place, who completed it, and what was done. So all of that detail is captured within your online transaction file. So now that we've seen one, let's start one. Upper third, clicking on transactions now. From those taskbar, if you will, of links, clicking on transactions, because that will take me back to the files that I've created. And again, hopefully this is emphasizing that you can always come back to these files, work with them, revise them, update them, upload documents, deliver documents outbound, things like that. So work with your online transaction files. In this case, I would like to phrase, there it is again, I would like to create a new transaction file. We'll see what other features are there. You can delete a transaction, create or delete. So we want to create. Again, the light view, as I click here on the action arrow, the light view is the most commonly used features. It is really reduced down to those most commonly used or essential features of the transaction desk platform. If you want more features, more options, same account, the Pro view. The Pro view will offer more options within those drop-down menus. Same exact account, just a little bit more choices. To some, choices are awesome. To some, choices get confusing. So decide which you prefer and go with a different view. Light view, we're going to start our new transaction file. The only requirement here, and hopefully it stands out a little bit because it's red font with an asterisk, this is the only required field that we give our transaction a name. And we're naming this file. This is just how I name mine. This is a free-formed text field that you can type whatever you would like to name your transaction file. And I'm going with Larry, and his first name is Barry. Barry Larry, and he is a buyer, single-family residential. Again, just my techniques as name my files. Please use yours here, or what your office requires. Please name those files accordingly. Best thing I can encourage you to do is just be consistent. Everything from here down is optional. We're starting to add details to this new Barry Larry transaction file. What type of transaction is it? Well, it's a residential sale. It's like that from the list. Details about my new file. Have we identified a property? Probably not, but I'm going to go ahead and show off the integration here anyway. I'm going to go 42393. Because here's another integration for the MLS. When we were on the MLS, we saw the one-click transaction file, which would automatically start a new residential sale file for us. But here from your transaction desk account, we can reach back into the MLS and pull those MLS details into our file. Additional way to add details to a brand new file is to template your transactions. I'm a huge fan of the templates. They can be created at the user level. They can be created at the office level. Follow me just to the top third of the screen where it says templates. All you do is you give your template a name and you identify the forms that you want to include in that template. So a residential sale template might include the buyer agency agreement, the agency disclosure, the purchase contract, the forms that you most commonly use when you have a residential sale transaction. Templating is just a nice time saver. It also reduces omissions and it has nice consistency each time you start your file. Do you have to use it? No. We're not going to use it here. We do follow-up sessions to show how to set them up and use them, but very simple steps to get those set up. Lastly, I am the listing agent, selling agent. We've been chosen selling because we chose residential sale. We can change that to neither or both if it's appropriate. Otherwise, we're just going to save our file here. Clicking on Save Diskette, bottom third, right-hand corner, reaching out to the MLS, grabbing that MLS ID and starting this new transaction file, populated with those MLS details. We're going to go through and we're going to add some additional. We'll add some contacts. We'll add some forms. We'll populate those forms with our transaction information. And a good amount of information. Address, city, state, zip, that tax ID, the county, the township, legal description. It's attached, probably to the MLS listing. Scrolling down, additional information that we can add. So let's add one, because I always want to point out that these blue icons here are calendars. When I click on that blue icon, bottom third, left-hand side, and left center, it is a calendar icon. It will pop-up message, a calendar, so that we can choose the appropriate dates for our transaction. There are save prompts, bottom right corner of the screen, bottom third right, a save prompt. So again, just to reemphasize, no required fields. We can come back at any time and add, update, or revise this information. The information that we add here will auto-populate our forms and contracts. Scrolling back to the top, save prompt in the upper right corner of the screen to save the changes that we made. Otherwise, when I click Contacts, when I leave the Details tab and click on Contacts, I will be prompted to save. Only if you allow pop-ups. Please allow pop-ups. Okay, go to that next tab, Contacts. I've been added. My broker, we've both been added on the selling side. Listing agent and broker came in with the MLS import. I would like to add a transaction contact. I'm going to click on that action arrow to add my buyer, Barry Larry, as a contact to this file. Clicking on that drop-down menu, buyer. You can see there's all these other types of contacts in there. We're going with buyer for this one. And Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, Larry. What else do I know about him? Do I have an address, a city, state, zip? If I add any of it in, if it asks for it on the form, it will populate over. I'm going to put in a phone number here, throw a little Austin at you, and the email address. Something like that. But not only do I want to add Larry to my transaction file, I also want to save Larry to my transaction desk contacts. So that's why I check that box in the bottom third left-hand corner, add to my contacts, so that two things will happen. As I slide over to the bottom right to click Save, two things are going to happen. Barry will be saved as a buyer contact to my transaction. He will also be saved to my contact database so that I can access and insert Barry into future signings, into future email or fax or transaction files. They'll be saved there in my contacts. If I have additional buyers, if there's a Mrs. Barry Larry, brothers or sisters, parents or children, please add them in separately. You need to have separate contacts so that each will autofill into those printed name fields in our form, so that each will be easily added to AuthentiSign signing. So add them separately to your transaction file. Next tab, just moving left to right, we went to Details. That's this Contacts tab. Go into the Forms tab. This is where we want to add a set of forms to our transaction file. Voila! A set of forms has been automatically associated to our residential sale transaction file. So you can set up your account for these types of services to be able to automatically include a set of forms to your transaction. When you come here for the first time, more likely than not, you're going to get a message that says 0 saved forms, something to that effect, as you will have known associated with or added to your transaction file. So what we're going to do is go to the I would like to menu. I would like to add new form. There's that phrase. There's that action we want to take. Click on the arrow to access the forms library. We're adding forms to our transaction file. So what in our account, through our many demonstrations apparently, we created some quick start groups and specifically a purchase packet so that we could automatically associate that set of forms to this type of transaction. So there's a bit of setup involved to get those forms automatically included. What you want to do is click on the individual forms to expand these folders to see all the forms that you may want to add to your file. And we're just going to go through and select a few so you can get the sense on how to complete that. So I'm just going to click to select the first one, brokerage fee agreement. I'm going to scroll down to look for other ones that I might need. Now, I already have some added on there, but let's go with that exclusive buyer. So I'm going to now press and hold the control key, that CTRL key on my keyboard. I press and hold that button down and click to select the additional form. I release the keyboard key and scroll down to find any other. Let's do the two-party exchange. Press and hold the CTRL key. Click to select. Release the control to scroll down and look for any additional forms. Add selected forms, bottom third of the screen, right-hand side, add selected forms to our transaction file. So you have access to the complete forms library to add all of the forms that you'll need to this transaction. Looks like I have a duplicate there, so I guess making lemonade out of lemons, select, and I click on that little checkbox. Now that is a selected form. And as I go to the middle third I would like to menu, I would like to delete the selected form because it's a duplicate. So I'm removing it from my transaction file. So now I have a nice complete set, 8 forms. I might need more in the future, but this is a good set to get me started. So what do I want to do now? Well, now I would like to auto-populate forms. Action arrow to complete that action. Details, dates, and contact information. Absolutely okay with me. So we get that information from our transaction file, details, and contacts to populate our form fields. I'm going to click on that exclusive buyer agency. Clicking on that form name, because that's an active link, middle third of the screen, shading to the left just a little bit, I click on the form name. It is an active link that will launch Forms Edit mode. This is Forms Editor, where the keyboard meets the contract. We looked at it a little bit from the individual library, and it's basically the same. For all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same. The differences are here. The column on the right, probably pretty obvious because we have 8 forms associated with this file. As I type up and complete the exclusive buyer, I can then just easily click on that brokerage fee or go to that next form. complete one, go to the next. Until I'm ready, or until I need to go or access that next form, I can collapse this window, or shrink it against the right-hand side of the screen. That minus sign, I don't know if you can tell it's red, but it is red, but it's a minus sign. I click to collapse. And then it's a plus sign, and I can expand it. So that column is there and available to me when I need it. Populated with my transaction details. If I had added Barry's address to his contact information, it would have populated into my form. You can click the fields to activate. Activate to type. You can also use the tab key to go from one fillable field to the next, to type, to add details, or paste to add details. Because anything that you can copy, I'm going to highlight this and copy it to my computer's clipboard, so to speak. I'm copying this detail to my computer's clipboard, and then I can paste it into my form fields. There are no restrictions from copying and pasting. Calendar icons to choose dates from the calendars. All of the blue fields are fillable, where the keyboard meets the contract to type up your online forms. Forms editor. Once I complete one form, I still just want to point out you still have all of those traditional delivery methods of print, fax, or email. You can deliver your forms in these traditional methods. When you've typed them up, you can send them outbound. When I've typed up or completed this form, I can expand this column on the right, clicking on that plus sign to expand, and go from the buyer agency to maybe the brokerage fee. Let me click on that form, last one, because now we want to go and prepare these for digital signatures. Yes, pop-up message, save my changes to the online form. I've typed up and completed all the required and optional fields. I'm now going to that brokerage fee to type up now this form, populated with my transaction file information. Type up a complete set of forms. Once you've typed up the complete set, I'm actually going to exit from the form editor. Exiting, upper third, exit form editor, center screen. Going back to the Forms tab of our Larry Berry transaction file. I can execute from here as well. I would like to email selected forms, fax selected forms, or print selected forms to PDF. So that would require me to select the form first, click in the checkbox, exclusive and broker fee. I've selected those two forms. I can print those two forms to PDF. I can email them or fax them. Traditional delivery methods. But that's not what we came here today to do. We came here today to use Authentisign because we're tired of paper cycles. We don't want to email to have a printed page to be signed and then faxed or scanned and emailed back. We want to close the loop on that paper cycle, so we're going to go up to the Authentisign link. Upper third of the screen, right-hand side, clicking on Authentisign. We're leaving our transaction file and going to Authentisign. Because we've done all we need to do right now in that file. We created the file, we've typed up the form, now we want signatures on those typed up forms. Signing that I've created previously. All of these names are active links. When I click on the active link, that name, Tisdale Jerry, it will show me the details of that signing. In this case, it's just been sent out. It doesn't look like anything else has taken place. I can review the progress of my active signings by clicking on the signing name. Lower third of the screen, right-hand corner, lower third right, return to Authentisigns. So you always have access to the progress of your active signings. We would like, in this case, to create a new signing. Clicking on that icon, upper third, left-hand side, create new signing. The first thing we're going to be asked is whether we want to create a blank or import from saved. The steps to create either are exactly the same. I'm going to select from a transaction file so that we will be prompted with transaction file information. If you're working with the forms library, we typed up that individual form, create a blank signing. Go through the steps to manually give the signing a name, add your signing participants, import your forms. Because we've created a file, we're going to import from that transaction as I click here on continue, so that we will be prompted with information in that name field for those participants, for those forms. Exactly the same 5 steps. When we import from a file, we're prompted with file information. When we create a blank, we manually add the information. So first thing, name, Larry Berry. This name, and I'm going to change it to the buyer exclusive. Let me do that, exclusive buyer. Because this name is going to follow this signing. It will be referenced in the invitations that AuthentiSign delivers via email. It will be referenced in the subject lines. It will also be the default name of the final signed document. So that's a name. Participant order. I'm sticking with inline. I want to go in a very linear order. I want my first signing participant to be invited first, for them to agree and complete first, and then AuthentiSign will deliver the invitation to the next participant. SimulSign will shotgun out the invitations to everybody at once, and they can, whenever they have access to the signing, can log in and complete their portion. So it's much more ad hoc, if you will. So I like the inline to be very linear. I know where it is. I know who's next, and just follow through that order. We can also set expirations or add additional details, but exclusively we just want to give it a name and click on this next action arrow to go to step 2. Step 2 is adding our participants, first prompted with our transaction file contacts. Barry is going to be a signer. I will be as well. We're going to add these contacts to our signing. We're going to talk about those different types of reviewers and CC-onlys here in a moment. First thing I'm going to do is update a little information. I will come back to it. Add new participant. So if you're creating a blank, if you're not being prompted with transaction file contacts, or if you need to add a participant who's not a transaction contact, either way, add new participant so that we can type in or select the contacts from our transaction desk platform. I'm going to choose Joan Loan because I want Joan to get a copy of this final document immediately as it's signed and completed. That makes her a CC only. All she's going to do is get a copy. A reviewer role has access to the online documents. They see the in process. They can accept or reject the contracts as they are presented. They have that capacity within the signing. They just have no initial or signature requirements. So a reviewer participates in the signing but has no initial or signatures. CC only, all they do is get a copy of the final document. Everybody who participates gets a copy of the final document. Your signers, your reviewers, and your CC onlys all receive copies of the final signed document. Joan is a CC only, and she's going to be the type of other. These types play an important role with the AuthentiSign templates. As we import our forms, AuthentiSign is going to look at the types of signers that we add to this. If the signer type matches a templated block on a form, it will plot that block automatically. We're going to see those here in a bit, but be mindful of the type. As you add these folks in, make sure if they are a buyer, add them as the buyer type. If they're seller, and so forth. And seller could be seller, owner, could be any of those folks. I've been added, Barry's been added, and Joan's been added. Two things I want to do. One is order them. I'm setting up the inline signing. I want Barry to sign first. I'm going to move Barry into that position. I click on the green arrow to change the position or order. When I have it in the correct order, I click Update Order. So Barry will be first, I'll be second, Joan will get a copy once we're done. Also want to do here real quickly is update Greg's email address here to something we can get to quickly. There we go. Make sure that all the information is correct. Triple verify that you spelled the email address correctly. Save the participant information. Step 2, adding your participants. Add as many as you need. If there's 3 buyers, add 3 buyer signers. If there's 3 sellers, and so forth. Next step, action arrow to step 3, which is importing forms, uploading documents. First prompted with our transaction file form. So I'm going to choose that exclusive and the brokerage fee. The same 2 that we worked on. Now I want to get them signed, and I'm going to add them to this signing. Prompted with that information. If I'm not, if I created that blank, if I typed up the individual form and want to add that form, upper thirds, just shading to the left just a little bit, select from forms. So now I have access to those individual forms. Expanding those folders to see the form that I created so that I can add it to this signing or to a blank signing, so forth. If you type up individual forms, you can still process them through Authentisign. Add them in. I've already got one, so I'm going to cancel out. But just to show that access to the individual form library to import forms into your signing. The other one that's, especially when creating a blank, uploading files. By clicking here, same upper third, left-hand side, upload a file. Now I can browse my computer's hard drive, that C drive on my desktop or laptop, that USB thumb drive where I've saved forms, documents, and contracts. I can browse those, and I can upload them into my signing. So whether I am typing up transaction forms, individual forms, or uploading from my saved documents, getting them into our signings. We can see that the exclusive buyer right now has a default template applied because the buyer agency form has buyer signature requirements. We added a buyer signer to our signing. The template was applied. And we're going to see that now because step 4, the next step, action arrow to step 4 is where we're going to plot where the signatures and initials go. And I've been using this analogy that I think most of you have seen or participated in or maybe even done yourself. You know, back in the days of real estate when you had a complete printed set of forms, in this case, 5 pages, you might have taken little sticky stamps, those little Post-its that say sign here or date here or initial here, and you put those little tabs on the little pointers where the signer who's coming into your office to sit down and sign would see the little sticky and sign to the right of it. That's essentially what we're doing here in step 4. We're plotting the little stickies. Our participant will click to accept and add their signature and initials. We're just putting the little sticky stamps. On the 5 pages, thumbnails here on the left-hand column, going in alphabetical, going in clockwise direction, navigation tools to zoom in or zoom out. I like the fit width. The fit width seems to put in a good ratio for me so that we can begin to plot. One thing before we start plotting, drawing tools. Authentisign is not a form editor. Authentisign is not a form editor. But if you see that you made a mistake, you need to make a correction or really a redaction. If you want to strike something over, you can use the line draw to plot a strike over or redaction. Again, this form should be typed up correctly before you import it into Authentisign. If you find some little errors that need correcting, line draw to strike over, text tool. And you see as I select it, watch my mouse as it comes onto the page. See how it's a crosshair? That's how I know that is activated. I can click to plot where I want this text box to go. I can move it around. And we'll just, I don't know, type incorrect information. Something like that. Expand it a little bit, make it bigger. So you can make these, resize it a little bit. Drag it around. Whatever's correct. But the drawing tools to make minor adjustments. It is not a form editor. Coming around the horn there, because now we're going to talk about view signing parties, and maybe because we just made that correction, Barry is our highlighted signing party. That highlight is important because any initial, signature, or block that I drag and drop onto the page will be for Larry. If I need the block to be for Greg, I switch the signing party. Now Greg is the highlighted signing party, and I click and hold down that left mouse button to drag and drop onto the page. Now if you did it wrong, I flipped it or switched it, now that they're plotted, what we can do is use the right mouse button. When I hover my mouse on the block, which I am now, you can see my mouse changes to that crosshair, the right mouse button to yield this formatting menu, to delete the block, to add a date stamp to the block, or a full name field to the block. Every one of these blocks has this right-click menu to be able to access that additional formatting menu. Scrolling down the page, any other initial or signature requirements here? It looks like yes, there are, but they've been satisfied by that default template. Initial for Barry plus date field has been automatically added by our template. Every one of these can be adjusted if we want to move it around, or right-clicked if we want to yield that additional formatting menu. We're going to go through. Now we're going to go to thumbnail page 2. Any requirements here? Looks like they've been met. Possibility of dual agency. We're going to use an optional initial for this. So first, switching signing party back to Barry. And I'm going to use an optional initial. Well, Barry will either accept or decline to initial that space, and I'll drop it in. And again, I can click on it, and you can see now it's got the little squares. I can resize it. If I want to make it bigger or smaller, I can pull or small, reduce the size of that little block that's plotted. Wherever you would require a wet or ink initial or signature, add in the digital. Last page here that we'll look at, because again, plotted with this templated information. You can right-click any of these blocks to yield this formatting menu. Any of these blocks on the right can be plotted for your signing parties. Most importantly, signatures and initials, date fields. Practice. Create a couple signings for yourself, only for yourself, or yourself and a business partner or family member. Create some. Knock around here, plotting the required information, required signatures, initials, dates, and so forth. Go through all your pages. Plot the required initial and signatures. Action arrow next. Step 5, the final step. To review, what have we done? We can go back to any of these steps. Middle third of the screen, left-hand side. Back to step 1, the name and setup. Step 2, the participants. Add, edit, revise. Step 3, importing forms, uploading documents. Step 4, preparing, plotting required initial and signatures, or optional, or text fields, or radio buttons. All of those plotting features within the step 4. Step 5 is the review. We can even exit from this point, but we want to move forward. We want to deliver this invitation to Larry. We can customize the email message that's about to be sent. Remember, Authenticsign is going to deliver all of the email correspondence. We can customize the subject line or the message for our recipient. We are sender in name only. We can customize it, but Authenticsign will deliver the email invitation as soon as I click, top third of the screen, right-hand side, finalize details and send. When I click that twice, because yes, it's going to prompt me, are you sure you're ready to send this out? You've completed your signing? Yes. I'm ready to deliver that invitation. AuthentiSign will now deliver that invitation to the first signing participant. We can come back to the signing at any time, click on the signing name to review the details and the progress and the status. But from this point, we're going to log into that Gmail account here. I'm going to go to Gmail. I'm going to switch over, put on my Barry Larry hat here, because I'm the participant. Maybe I just got a call from my agent saying that they emailed me the contracts to sign. And I should log in to my email account, access, and take steps to complete my portion of the signing. And it might just take another 30 seconds here to come to receive that, to see that email message. Good time for questions. If I hadn't mentioned it before, in that go-to training sidebar, there is a chat section in the go-to training sidebar where you can type questions. We've been reviewing those and answering them if we've gone through the session here. But otherwise, you can type them in. I was just triple verifying the email address that I typed in, make sure that was correct. We can resend it if we need to, but just got to show just a shred of patience here. If it doesn't show up in our inbox, we always can check our spam, and that is always a good advice. We don't have any control over how the recipient's email is going to receive that AuthentiSign message. Because remember, you are sender in name only. The message is coming from secure@authentisign.com. secure@authentisign.com. So if they're saying they haven't gotten it, please have them check their spam, bulk, or junk folders in case it was filtered out by their email provider. I'm going to click here on the subject line, just like anybody else opening an email message. We'll open the message. Again, that subject line could have been customized, as well as the information here within the body of the email. But ultimately, they just want to click here on the words or click here on the big blue image to take the first step into the AuthentiSign process. Everybody who participates in AuthentiSign for the first time, yourself included, you are going to create a profile. Every one of your signing participants are going to create an AuthentiSign profile. You, when you have initial and signature requirements, will create an AuthentiSign profile. The first thing that we're going to do is choose that signature style. I can choose it from just a list, prefab fonts, or more likely than not, going to use the Instanet Ink feature. Instanet Ink to handwrite. I'm using my mouse pad on my laptop to add that in. Pardon my mouse for a moment. So if I like it, I just click on Next, and I go to the next step. I'm going to add a little swooshy down here just because I want to make it mine. If I don't like it, I refresh it. I click here, lower third, right-hand side, little recycle arrows will refresh that so I can re-type it in. Or not type it, excuse me, I can re-sign it. Otherwise, I'm going to click Next because that looks pretty good. I'm going to click here on Next because now I need to add my initials. So I do a little Barry here, a little B. Maybe I do like my, I didn't say it before, but I like to give a little uniqueness to your initials and signatures. That's what the Instanet Ink will allow you to do. Create the signature for your AuthentiSign profile. If you don't like it, the recycle arrows to refresh and try again. If you like it, approve those signature and initials. Step 2 of creating your profile is a password. The creator, you as the creator, will not know what your participant's password. This is between them and AuthentiSign. There are password retrieval tools When they forget what it is, they can retrieve it through password retrieval request. Otherwise, last step, agreeing the unique identity is approved, and confirm and accept. At this point, you as the creator just received your first notification from Authentisign. This is where you get your first confirmation that this signing participant has authenticated. They have authenticated, they have agreed to participate and set up their Authentisign profile. Now they're going to start the signing. Thumbnails on the left, navigation tools, still like the fit width, but all they have to do is click the Start Signing button. Click on Start Signing, upper third right-hand side, Start Signing. Authentisign will locate and highlight the first signing block. When they click to accept that block, Authentisign applies their signature and initial style. We have 4 items remaining. Prompted to click, we click. We're moved to the next. Here's the optional. Are they agreeing to the possibility of dual agency? When I click here, do I want to accept and plot that initial, or do I want to decline? I'm going to decline it just so you can see that if they decline, that initial is not plotted. And it moves to the next initial block. If they chose accept, it would be plotted, just like all the other initials. Last one here, clicking to accept. Font is added, date stamp is applied, 0 items remaining, but they're not done. They can now go back, read the contract, go through the pages of the thumbnail to make sure that they read and understand everything that they're signing. If they read something they don't agree to, they can still reject the signing. They can decline to sign, they can exit and come back later, or in this case we're just going to return. So even though they have 0 items remaining and they have clicked to accept all the blocks, they can still reject the signing. Because until they click on Done and Accept All twice, because they are going to be prompted to stay in review, when they click Complete, now they're done. Now you as the creator have received a second email notification that this participant has now completed their signing. They've completed. I'm going to little thank you message here. They can come back and access the progress to see who's next and where it is in the process. They have no ability to change their answer, so to speak, but they can see the progress of that signing. We can see the progress. We're getting email notifications as we go through that signing process to let us know. But we can also come back in and part of my screen here for a moment as I get us logged back in. About 90 more seconds, because we want to go back to this transaction file now. Showing my screen again, that's always the key. We're going to go back to this transaction, because now Barry has signed. So we've talked about creating a transaction file. We've talked about adding the forms to that file, typing up a complete set, and then using Authentisign to sign. But now we want to talk about the doc box and the documents of this transaction. So we're back in our Barry Larry transaction file. We're looking at the details. We've talked about contacts and forms, but now we want to talk about documents. So I'm clicking here on documents of our transaction. And pardon me if I'm logging in and trying to complete this other. Documents are everything else, right? And as soon as I'm able to complete the signing, we're going to see a final document show up here in our transaction file. But until we do, I want to make sure that you can, and you are comfortable that you can. I would like to upload documents. I'm going to click on that action arrow. I want to show you how you can access and upload documents from your local computer. Clicking here on the plus sign, on the add button, so that I can browse my local computer. Anywhere that I've saved a document, I can upload it into my transaction file. Once I've added it to the little list here, I click on the upload, bottom third of the screen, right-hand side, upload the document. So anything that I'm scanning to a file on my desktop, I can upload to the cloud. Put it online where it's available to you from any internet connection, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Unlimited online document retention for state-required retention periods. I'm going to refresh here. I think we're going to have a final document. It's going to take me back to the Home tab, but we'll quickly get back into that transaction. I know we're sliding past just about, oh, no, there it is. Came in. Signed document, Larry Berry. When we import from a transaction file, the final document is routed back to the documents of our transaction. Everyone who participated, all the signers, any reviewers, any CC-onlys, everybody just got a copy of the final document. It is a PDF. It is a very robust PDF document that has a unique AuthentiSign ID that is certified by AuthentiSign Security, GeoTrust, and Global Sign for Adobe. We have a signature panel so we can see all of the details and security and validations. Even on the home page of AuthentiSign, you'll see the mention of these securities. And we mention it quite often because you may be asked by an underwriter for this type of documentation. But both of our signatures and initials here with our font style have been applied. And as we go through, we'll see all of those added. We'll see all of the required dates and fields, all that electronic detail. But it is a PDF document. So they scroll back here up to the top, middle third of the screen, left-hand side. You can save it offline. You can convert it to PDF. You can email or fax it. Well, you don't really want to fax it, I don't think, but you can. It'll retain all of the information. But anyway, keep a digital copy. This is saved in your AuthentiSign account. It's saved within your transaction file. As I click here to return to documents, upper third, right-hand side. It's also been emailed to everyone who participated in the signing. Paper-free transaction file, typed up in online form, delivered and received a digital signature, saved to my online transaction. With that said, I'm going to go back to the Home tab, very mindful of everybody's time, very appreciative of the opportunity to present. I do hope this webinar was a benefit. Scrolling down just to discuss a couple features here. And I think it's time to update this. It's no longer Tungle. It's www.doodle.com/schedule Instanet web session. Free webinar for your team or office, tailored to the time that you have and the content that you would like to cover. Interactive so that we can speak to each other, answer questions, and discuss implementation strategies. That is our online calendar, doodle.com/Instanet webinars. I challenge you to say that without giggling or laughing. If you have questions, webinars at Instanet Solutions. Great place to send questions because sometimes you really just don't know what you don't know until you really realize that you don't know it. So send us an email, or YouTube is a great place for that as well. YouTube.com/Instanet webinars. About 100 different recorded webinars, anything from a 1 to 3 minute how do I, all the way up to a 60-minute overview. So YouTube.com/Instanet webinars for all that online recorded content. With that said, and already sliding past, I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to present. I will still continue to review and answer questions through that chat section, so please continue to type them in. And until we webinar again, I hope you have a tremendous, tremendous day.